Update: taking legal action against my ex-husband after turning his own family against him. Original post. When our son was around 8 years old, my husband started acting different, more secretive and accusing me talking with a guy friend or being friendly to the barista equaled straying eyes. I found out a couple of months later he was having an affair with his co-worker. I immediately filed for divorce and left him, and we had joint custody of our son. Of course, I constantly reassured him that the divorce wasn't his fault. I didn't want him to hate his dad because of his love for me, so I just lied about the reason and said that adults grow apart sometimes and that's just how it is. But for some reason, he was never convinced. Well, I now know the reason. Years have passed. I just found out that my son thinks the divorce was my fault. I was livid when he mentioned it to me, not mad at him, of course. He told me that ever since I started dating my new boyfriend, his dad revealed the truth of the divorce, which is that I got paranoid, disrupted his work life, became distant, and best of all, I cheated on him. I can tell you right now I did not. I confronted that piece of crap, and he got flustered and started screaming cuss words at me, cussing out his own son in the process. He told me that it was all because I didn't forgive him and that I'm rubbing my new boyfriend in his face. I'm literally not. I don't want the two of them mingling. So of course, I came back home and told my son the whole truth. He's refusing to talk to his father now and doesn't want to go over to his house. I'm being cussed out by his side of the family for ripping a father away from his son, but I couldn't care less. Reading the top comments before the updates. Classic F around and find out. He became exposed as the bad guy while trying to frame you. I'm glad your kid is smart enough to know who the liar is and who the victim is. I'm just thankful I didn't fail as a parent and managed to raise a good person. OP, you didn't fail as a parent, you just set the record straight. The fact that he even asked shows his character. He may have had feelings about it in the moment, but he asked for clarification to make a proper judgment. OP did not fail her son. This sounds like my relationship with my kid's father. I told them we had just drifted apart, and he still loves them. And as they got older, he told our youngest, she was probably 12 at the time, 14 now, that I broke his heart, and I cheated. So I blew up his world with the truth. I told him he mentally and verbally abused me. He took my medication away from me while we were on vacation so I would act crazy, but he just magically found them in the drawer my family and I had already looked in. And he was the one who, in fact, cheated. And all the years that he was never there, I was the one putting gifts under the tree, signing his name because I didn't want them to feel like he didn't love them. I made so many excuses to them about their dad to make him look like a good guy. Yeah, never again. Oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that. The fact that so many people have to go through similar things like this is just disgusting. I hope you're in a better place now. Nobody deserves that kind of treatment. Your son will remember that character throughout his life. My father didn't often talk poorly about my mom, but enough that I remember it and didn't like it. My mom, to this day, I am 41, has only slipped up twice and called him a name because I called her crying about how he is after I became an adult. She would say, "I'm sorry for that," and continue to listen. She has character that I am so glad I learned from her. I have no doubt OP's son has learned character from OP already and doesn't know it yet. My mom absolutely despises my dad, but she still won't talk bad about him, even when I call her complaining, because she doesn't believe in talking bad about him. She has apologized for him being my father and for marrying him. But she also said she doesn't regret it because she wouldn't have us if she was never with him. At one point, the only way she would communicate with him was via certified mail. My dad is still a piece of crap. I finally gave up and forgave him for all his crap behavior because I would rather have my dad in my life the way I choose, at the length I choose, solely because I would be sad if I lost him without having at least a relationship with him. But I went many years without speaking to him and had a very strained relationship. He's now on a very short leash, and he's aware of it. I also have his only grandchild, and I think he's aware that if he screws up, he loses us both. Update. My son has got fully no contact with his bio dad. As for his emotional state, the shock has subsided a bit and has been replaced with anger. When he made his decision final, I got a death threat from my ex-mother-in-law, my ex-sister-in-law started harassing my own parents, and my ex-husband showed up at my door angry and drunk. I've kept records of everything that they've done until now. I called the police and had my ex escorted off the property when he refused to leave and started to get violent with my boyfriend. I thought about hiding all of this from my son because he's had enough of a shock, But I figured that lying to him in the first place is what got us into this mess, so he knows everything. The good news is that they've stopped harassing me for the time being. I guess the police escorting my ex away from my house was a wake-up call for them. They contacted me once to ask me not to press charges and haven't contacted me since. Last update. Sorry that this post is so long, my life is a crap fest right now. This is me updating you all on something I've posted about before in this community. Back to the point. As it says in the title, I've consulted a lawyer, who happens to be my boyfriend's sister. I'll start off by saying that the comments under my original post were right. I remember a few people pointing out that maybe my ex-Mill and ex-Sil didn't know the whole story since my ex-husband isn't to be trusted. That made me realize how it's an actual possibility, so I ended up contacting them. Here's what they thought happened. Years ago, I'd cheat on my ex with my neighbor, go on drugs, become paranoid, and take away his privacy. Current time, I'm jealous of the promotion my ex got and want to ruin his relationship with our son, so I feed him lies and cause a rift. Cherry on top, my boyfriend is a drug addict and an ex-criminal who's a bad influence on my son. They're now going against their own son and have agreed to give testimonies if needed. I've been keeping a record of all texts, emails, and calls, every single time he threatened to kill me or grape me. The witness statements from my neighbors have been collected from when he came to our house drunk and angry. I also have recordings of his behavior. A police report has been filed for assault, punching my boyfriend, trespassing, property damage. I'm also requesting a restraining order as well as sole custody. I've brought up criminal intimidation, assault and battery, as well as compensation regarding medical and emotional damage. Yesterday he tried approaching my son after school ended. Luckily, my boyfriend was already there to pick him up, so he interjected. Everything escalated when my ex started making death threats against my boyfriend very loudly and almost hit him again. He even cussed at his own son because he wasn't going to his dad and siding with the traitor. Not sure how my boyfriend is a traitor, but whatever. He was threatened by security and finally left my family alone. Last night he called me full on crying and sobbing, begging me to let him see his son and that he's so incredibly sorry. I felt guilty inside, but I held out, and I'm glad I did, because his sobs turned into loud screams and grave threats. Because I've isolated him not only from his son but also from his mom and sister, he said that he's going to kill me with his own hands and proceeded to describe in explicit detail how he'd grape me with his buddies and dispose of my body afterward. Too bad I'd already hit record. I feel heartbroken that all of this is happening. He may not have been the best dad, but he still was there for our son and acted like the father figure I wanted him to. Now it's all gone to crap. My son is so incredibly shaken up. I'm spending a lot of time with him, letting him cry and talk to me about whatever he wants. I'm thinking of putting him in therapy, like I am. He's gotten a lot closer to my boyfriend over the course of this time as well. Everything just feels so exhausting right now, but I know that when it's over, I can hope to have some semblance of peace. Eventually, kids grow up to realize who the problem parent was. Keep protecting your son and your family. Keep doing what you're doing. You're on the right path. I sure hope so. Believe his threats. He will definitely try to kill you when his murderous rage cannot be controlled anymore. You need someone like the Equalizer to convince him to move on permanently one way or another. There's spilling the beans, telling on oneself, and then just singing a loud solo opera. That's what your ex did. What a numbskull. I'm glad you got out, OP. I hope he leaves you alone, too. What a nightmare of a man, yeesh. Thank you. It wasn't as bad when we first got together. I can't believe I missed all the warning signs when I fell in love with him and married him. Love makes us want to see the best in people. Unfortunately, it can also make us want to see the potential for good rather than see people for who they actually are. Don't beat yourself up for wanting to be a good partner to him. I'm just glad you, your son, and your current partner are all safe. I hope the rest of Mr. Awaiting Criminal Records family has left you alone, too? Fortunately they have. I'm glad I confronted my ex-in-laws, or else they could very well still have been on his side. I'm still not over them harassing me and sending my parents horrible threats, but I'll take any win I can get. Next story. Am I the a-hole because I told my ex-husband's son the truth about why we divorced and how he came to be? I used to be married to Danny. We were together for 4 years and married for 5 years, from age 18 to 27. I thought the relationship was going well until I discovered Danny was having an active affair with Carol, who was 25 at the time and is now 43. During that time, I collected evidence, consulted a divorce lawyer, and presented Danny with divorce papers. Danny did not protest and left me for Carol, as she was pregnant and I had trouble conceiving. As the divorce proceeded, I discovered I was pregnant. Through my moral judgment, I decided to keep the baby and have primary custody, as Danny was enamored with his new fling with Carol. I gave birth to a healthy baby boy, Mike, and Carol gave birth in Nick. Danny initially denied paternity of Mike, but with a DNA test, it was proven he is the father. The boys would grow up to become friends and have a solid relationship despite the tense nature of what transpired between Danny and me. The boys are now 17 and entering their senior year of high school. Nick was over last weekend and seemed different, as his mood was sour and he seemed upset. Sitting down with him, I asked what was wrong, and though he appeared apprehensive, he opened up to me about some relationship problems he had been going through. His girlfriend of 2 years had cheated on him, and he was having trouble dealing with the aftermath of it. He asked me whether or not two individuals could reconcile after infidelity. I was honest with him and said that it depended on the individuals, though it was often better if both parties moved on, as trust between the two had been broken and was not easily repaired. He seemed to take the answer in stride but then asked me a question I wasn't sure I was prepared for: "Is that what happened between you and my father?" I confirmed that it had, which is why Danny and I divorced, that his father cheated on me with his mother, which resulted in his birth. He seemed conflicted and responded, "So it's all been a lie?" I asked him about that statement, and apparently his father had told him that I cheated on him. I corrected him and stated that the reason for our divorce was infidelity on his father's part, and I had evidence for it. He thanked me for the conversation and said he needed to go home, as it was getting late. I wished him safe travels and thought nothing else of it until a few hours later, when I received an angry phone call from Carol blasting me for why she argued with her son. He went home to have it out with his father over the situation, but his father wasn't home yet, and he couldn't wait. He had a very contentious verbal spat with Carol, calling her some unpleasant names I will not repeat. She is calling me a homewrecker, the irony in that statement, and saying that I'm an a-hole for poisoning her son's mind. Am I the a-hole for what I discussed with him? He's been poisoned with the truth. Not the a-hole. He was poisoned with lies. He is detoxing on the truth. Detox can be rough, but the end result is a healthier person. I guarantee you that boy already knew. Born extremely close to a half-sibling and your mom and dad are divorced but your dad and stepmom aren't. Not the a-hole. 1. The victim never has to stay quiet so the villain can save face. 2. Never let someone lie on you, especially when they're attacking your character. 3. What is done in the dark always comes to light. And the audacity to cast her as the villain. She's the innocent person and wounded party. How dare they lie about her character? And she's supposed to stay quiet? For what? She owes the kid the truth. Edit. To clarify and answer some common questions I've seen. 1. Nick and Mike know they are half-brothers from a young age. I share custody with Danny, as he would have Mike on the weekends and some holidays. I edited to clarify the relationship, as some were confused about how Nick didn't know he had a brother, but he did. 2. I never discussed with Nick in explicit detail why his father and I didn't work out, as it only came up during that particular conversation. I explained it to Mike at one point when he entered high school, and I asked his opinion on me dating at that point, as he was getting older but still had a relationship with his father to an extent. He seemed fine with it. 3. This will be the last time I update, as this was meant to be a throwaway account and posting. Please take my experience as you will. Hopefully, it may help or intrigue someone. Next story. Am I the a-hole for exposing my ex-husband for taking the gift I got for my son's 16th birthday? I have an ex-husband who divorced me after I was diagnosed with cancer. He made it all about him, then blamed me for our marriage failing. He later married a 23-year-old woman who calls me mocking nicknames. I try to maintain a good co-parenting relationship. We have a 16-year-old son who lives in both houses. His 16th birthday was a few days ago. I bought him a console and sent it to his dad's house in advance since I was out of town and couldn't attend the birthday celebration. 2 days later, one day before the birthday, my ex-husband called saying he opened the gift I bought for our son, used it, and broke it. I was in dismay when he told me. I started arguing with him about paying to replace it, but he began pleading, saying he had no money and asked that I either send another gift, didn't have to be a console, or just tell our son I didn't send him anything. I told him no way was I going to lie to my son, but he kept begging, saying he'd pay me back once he was able. I ended the call and immediately called my son to let him know what his father did to his birthday gift. A huge fight ensued. My ex-husband called me yelling, saying I not only ruined our son's birthday celebration but also ruined his relationship with him over a stupid console, and that he was going to pay for it, but I was being spiteful and trying to one-up him. My son went to stay at my place with my current husband and hasn't been speaking to his dad. His dad is blaming me because our son refused to stay and celebrate his birthday there after finding out what he did. My ex-husband's wife then berated me in a long text, saying I caused a scene and used my son as a tool to get back at his dad, when I could have worked things out like a mature adult. She said she doesn't get me and that there's something wrong with my personality. She even claimed she would be a better, more mature mother than me and would never involve her kids in her fights with her partner. I was upset by her lecture and wondered if I mishandled the situation and made a hasty decision. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, and you need to tell the ex's new wife to sit down and shut up. You are co-parenting with the father, not her. She's the type with a loud mouth who acts like she's older than me and knows better, always criticizing me and inserting herself into any argument that occurs. Not the a-hole, your ex is a piece of work. First, he should never have opened the present. Second, how do you break a console that fast? I don't know what it was, but I have a Switch and an Xbox, and they've both taken plenty of knocks over the years with no issue. You sure he didn't just return or pawn it? Another option, he's got it hidden somewhere in his house and pulls it out to play when the son isn't there. Instantly what I thought. I don't think he broke it. If he didn't sell it, he definitely kept it for himself and lied. What a piece of work. Not the a-hole. What kind of grown man opens his kid's birthday gift, uses it, and, just like magic, breaks it? I'm willing to bet he broke it on purpose because he didn't buy your son anything and didn't want to look like a loser. Of course, for them, it's fine for your son to believe his mother didn't bother buying him a gift, but not okay for him to know his father is a selfish idiot. I'm willing to bet that he figured out what it was and sold it. This makes it even worse if that's what happened. If I were OP, I'd ask for the broken console back to prove he didn't. Either that, or he planned to pass it off like he bought it and use the "I broke it" story to make OP look bad. The son has to know what type of father he has, someone selfish enough to abandon his wife after a cancer diagnosis. That's one of the worst reasons to leave a spouse. It shows he doesn't care about her,